If you're new to my channel, which in and of itself is incredibly new, so I wouldn't blame you, I'm Joy, and I've been playing chess now for about 8 years. I'm currently around 2000 USCF level, and I've loved the game for the challenge, the creativity, and, honestly, the endless things to learn about life. Last week, I played in the Rotarian Chess Championship for girls, where the best girls from each state fight to see who is a champion of champions. And I'm here to give you guys the inside scoop into the experience.
So I was this close to 2000, which is obviously a pretty exciting milestone. But honestly, one of my favorite parts of the tournament was just being around so many of the girls I've known through all my chess years. And it's kind of weird because chess is such an individual sport or game, but the community around it, especially at the high level, has become one of my favorite parts of playing. And every time I go to a tournament, I always see someone I know and I'm close with, and I'm able to play some blitz with them or just have a meal with them. And on my way home, I started thinking about how specific my tournament routine has become over all these 8 years that I've been playing chess. And none of these things are some kind of magical formula that guarantees that I'm going to win a chess game. I don't think it's ever like that. I mean, chess is ultimately a game of odds. But over time, I've built a system that makes these tournaments feel familiar to me. And I think that's what's important, whether it's chess, whether it's golf, whether it's swimming, whether it's any other sport. And I think that that's actually a pretty interesting idea to explore, these science of habits and routines in specific competitions as anyone who is competing at a competitive level. So let's jump into the habits. So let's start with something simple. One of the first things you think of in chess is the board. And every time you go to a tournament, whether it's USCF rated or if it's just an in person tournament, you need to bring a board, a clock, everything like that. And I have a chess bag for that. I don't have it with me right now, but it's just a pretty standard bag. Has a few pockets for like the pieces, clocks, score sheets, things like that. But I have a very specific way that I organize everything. There's like a system to it, and I kind of always put them in the same place. My score sheet goes on the same side. I always put an extra pen out by the clock. So all of these little things just kind of get me familiar before the game starts, that my surroundings are, I'm going to be in the zone, I'm going to lock in. And I know this sounds like one of those like productivity things where someone tells you, oh, you have to organize your desk. It's going to help you manage your time. It's going to help you manage all these tasks and help your brain like compartmentalize or whatever. But that's not what I mean. It's more about removing these tiny decisions that might kind of affect your mind and take it away from the more important thing, which is to like prepare for the opening and not have to worry about these small things. So imagine like it's 10 minutes before your game and you already have to be thinking about what you prepped for your opponent. You don't want to forget these specific lines, what opening you might play, how you're feeling, if you're nervous or not, because most of us are. Whether you want to look at some of your friends and say hi, and then suddenly you're digging through your bag to find a pencil because you don't know where you put it. That type of thing will get into your head psychologically. And because of that, putting a little effort to make these little habits systematic is something that is important. So that's my first habit. My second habit is that I always look at the playing hall first before my first round, whether that's usually that's the day before or the night before. I don't know if this can really apply to other sports and things because obviously a swimming pool is the same no matter where you go. But I always want to get familiar with the atmosphere so that it's not a shock. Again, one less thing to take away from your mind when you first step up to the board and want to play. I just want to like walk in and look at look at like how big it is, how the chairs are, even like if they're comfortable or not. I obviously won't complain about that, but something that I'll observe the different sections and where they're located, so I don't have to stress about, oh, where do I go, where do I look at pairings, everything like that. And at the Ruth Herring tournament, I actually took a picture of the playing hall before the game while I was checking in. So there's something about seeing the room beforehand that makes it feel less unfamiliar once you're actually sitting there. I'm sure you all understand that. So if you're giving a presentation somewhere, like in an office, go see the room, go see the conference room. And if you're competing somewhere you've never been, maybe walk around first and familiarize yourself with the surroundings. Even if it's similar, at least maybe you'll get to explore and go down a rabbit hole. And getting sidetracked is always fun. Research on performance routines emphasizes that repeated structured behaviors can help organize action in performance contexts. I'm a golfer, so we have something called a pre-routine as well. Before we step up and hit the ball, you would like look at your line, maybe take a practice swing, take a couple deep breaths, visualize your shot, and then go hit it. Research on performance habits similarly distinguishes these habits from routines and describes routines as organized, repeated sequences that can support performance. And so, this is something I think you can steal from chess, even if you don't play chess. So, if there's something you do repeatedly under pressure, an exam, a presentation, a competition, an interview, anything of that sort, you can figure out which tiny things you can make automatic. You don't need to do some 47 step routine. You just have to give the little things a space. My third habit is that this one's actually very debatable. I personally don't like looking at standings or pairings before the tournament starts. I used to, when I first started chess, I used to do this a lot and I would stress over who I was going to play, where I was in the standings. And sometimes it would help me because I would predict correctly who I would play and I would be able to prepare ahead of time, for example, or just prepare myself, oh, I'm going to play up or oh, I'm going to play down first round. But over time, I realized that that was actually giving me pressure, unnecessary pressure, leading into the first round, that I could be taking my mind off to relax before the round or do a few more puzzles with all the focus that I have. And so I don't like looking at the standings or pairings before I need to. And if I start thinking about like, oh, they're rated this much higher than me, so if I win or draw, I can gain this much points, or oh, I've played them before, because a lot of the tournaments at the higher level, you tend to know players. And then I'm suddenly thinking about the tournament instead of the positions that are going to be in front of me, then I would rather just wait till I get my pairing. A good quote to just summarize my mentality there is don't play the rating, play the position, right? So it doesn't matter who you're playing, you should be able to try and play your best and apply what you learned and look at the board in the same way. Because the person who you're playing, whether they're rated lower or higher, whether they're old or young, whether they're tall or short, etc., should not affect how you're playing. And sometimes knowing more information isn't actually helpful if you can't do anything with that information, right? My next habit that I've also played around with, like for all of my chess journey and probably will still change, is that I never prep openings for more than 15 minutes. At the 2000 level, there are a lot of people who will spend hours preparing ahead of time. But for openings specifically, I've kind of felt like I built a kind of muscle memory, kind of mental memory, I guess you would call it, to the openings that I play, I'm very, very familiar with my own repertoire, which helps me in the preparation process. So usually I'll give myself maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I'll look at what I expect to play, like basically whether I'm white or black, remind myself of some of the important ideas going into the middle game, and then maybe looking at a couple of lines, and then I just stop. But this is why the week before, like the few days before leading up to the tournament, I heavily prep openings. So that's my way of coping with it. And studies of chess players have found relationships between deliberate practice and performance over time. But that's different from cramming more information into your head 5 minutes before the game, where you could easily get confused, and then kind of just shoot yourself in the foot, right? Now, I guess we could get into kind of during the game some of the habits that I have. Obviously, there's a lot less because I'm more focused on the game rather than what habits I'm doing. But one thing in chess specifically are there are two types of players. We call them walkers or sitters. So you can probably guess what that means. But I am a walker. And so I walk around during the game. I'm not every move, but basically anytime my opponent thinks for more than 2 minutes, I just stand up and walk around, look at my friend's board, or go get some water, go to the bathroom. I think part of it is just that I think better when I'm not completely like frozen in one position for hours. I'm not actually, to be honest, I'm not actually thinking that much about the position when I'm sitting at the board and staring at it after I've made my moves. So I'd be much happier to just stand up and move around a little bit. I also think that there's a really important distinction here to make. I'm not walking around because I think pacing is like a magical technique, like in the Queen's Gambit when Beth Harmon looks up at the ceiling and can visualize the whole board and then like finds a genius move. I definitely can't do that. It's just that it helps me regulate how I feel during a long game, especially after I play like maybe what I think is a crucial move and I've thought for a long time. It helps for me to stand up and kind of clear my brain, take a couple deep breaths. And this is another place where I think knowing yourself matters because some people concentrate better by sitting there the whole time, but some people need to move. Some people need silence, while some people need maybe a little background ambient noise. I don't think the goal is to copy someone else's perfect routine. I'm not making this video because I want you to follow my habits. I'm just making it to let you know that you should start noticing these things and that these routines will really help you get into the right mindset and help you build consistency through your starts and your finishes in all your competitions. And now to the habits after the game. If you're still here after all this time, thank you so much for staying tuned and keeping watch. Yeah, so after the game, I do something slightly different. I'll put all the moves into my Lichess study, and then I'll write down my first impressions. Just all my messy thoughts about what was the crucial point, everything like that, with no engine. No engine is the crucial part. Did I think I made a good decision here? Did I think this move was dubious? And then that information is kind of incredibly valuable for me when I come back next and in a couple days to analyze it more deeply. And then also after the tournament ends, closing as soon as the closing ceremony is done, I don't think about chess for a couple days. I do not play games, I do not do tactics, I do not do openings. I just let my brain recover. I don't want to immediately spend the next 3 days like obsessively analyzing every position. I'll see my friends, I'll eat, I'll go outside, I'll do school stuff or other projects that I have. And then I come back to the games without being like as emotionally attached to it. And then sometimes my mind is like, huh, why did you do that? Like, why did you decide that? So I think this is one of those habits that also applies way beyond chess. So kind of bringing it all together and looking back at this like whole system, I think there are two things going on. Some of these habits are practical, like organizing my bag, knowing the playing hall ahead of time, writing down my thoughts and tracking my time, while some are more psychological, like not looking at the ratings and standings, having a familiar setup around the board, taking a break after the tournament. And I don't think any of them are individually responsible for me going from 1957 to 1993 this time, and I definitely wouldn't claim that as it's also not backed by science. But chess improvement and any improvement in any competition or field is much bigger than that. They research consistently points towards serious goal-directed practice and learning over time as important contributors to improvement. And maybe that's the real purpose of a routine, is to not guarantee a perfect result, but to make sure that when the moment comes, you've already taken care of the little things that you can control, to let yourself be free. I don't think you should watch this video and decide that you need to start looking at the playing hall before every competition or organizing your bag exactly like mine. Actually, that would kind of defeat the point of me making this video. Instead, what I want you to do is that the next time you compete in anything, I want you to pay attention to yourself. I want you to notice habits you already have, notice the routines you naturally fall into, and notice the things that make you comfortable or uncomfortable. Maybe you realize that one little thing you do before every competition that you've never really thought about, and write these things down. Because once you know what your brain naturally does under pressure, you can start figuring out which parts are actually helping you and which ones are just habits you picked up somewhere along the way. And one last thing before I go. If you're watching this and you're actually interested in chess, not just the tournament routines, I do tutor chess as well. I've had a lot of experience teaching and volunteering at my local public library, and I've also started my own chess club at school and outside of school. So I've gone to work with kids and older people who are completely new to chess, as well as students who are trying to get more comfortable playing competitively. So I'm around the 2000 USCF level, 1800 FIDE level. So if you're interested in learning chess, improving your tournament skills, or just having someone to play and learn with, I'll leave some information in the description.